And welcome to another extended movie review from your movie friend. My name's Aaron Dicer. Jeremy Scott joining me as well, as he always does. Every week, we review one of the new movies that comes out that weekend. And when I say review, basically we just tell each other what we thought about it, right? That's basically what happens.
It's kind of it's informal.
Very informal, and that's the way we like it. And we'd love for you to join in. You can join in the comments. We'll have the big question of the day, which today is about based on a true story movies. So be thinking of your favorite movie that's based on a true story. We'd love to see it in the comments. We'll let you know ours a little bit later on. But today we're talking about Argo, Ben Affleck's new movie. His third directorial decision that he's made, his third movie that he's directed, and the second that he started. He wasn't in Gone Baby Gone, was he?
That's correct. He was only behind the camera.
Yeah, so he's directing himself in this movie. It's about a true story, as we mentioned, during the Iran hostage crisis, which was 79 to 81, somewhere in that range. So I was like, what, 4 to 6? In that range. I vaguely remember that it was part of my existence, but I have no real memories of it, which was one of the things that made this movie very interesting to me, to kind of see the story and what was going on, because it's kind of a side story about these 6 people that escaped the embassy. They're not part of the main hostages, and how the United States government works with Canada to get them home, and Ben Affleck plays the guy that's set to make that happen. Jeremy, what'd you think of Argo?
Oh man, I loved it. I came right home and immediately started telling everyone I knew to go see it. It's easily one of the best movies of the year. I'm calling it the best movie I've seen so far. But I have yet to think of somebody that I know that wouldn't enjoy this movie. It's just almost expertly done. How did you feel?
Same. Absolutely the same. I was blown away. It's kind of one of those movies where you hear the buzz on it and everybody's saying how good it is, and you just think it can't be that good, right? I mean, I love Ben Affleck. I love both the movies he's done, but certainly this isn't that amazing. And then you walk out of the theater going, oh yeah, it's that amazing. It's that incredible.
I mean, they open with a pretty interesting title sequence to sort of catch you up on the historical events, which, again, it helped me because just like you, I was 5 years old at the time. I know it happened while I was alive. I don't remember it. But then once the film starts, it opens with the taking of the embassy in Iran, and there's tension from the first second. Like, I realized, like 30 seconds into the film, my heart's already racing. Like, you feel the tension, and that, even if you can't put your finger on why, all the credit for that has to go to Affleck, I think, because it's a combination of shots and camera angles and how long you linger and just building that tension perfectly. And he does it 3 or 4 times throughout the film. I was just really, really impressed. He's got the grace of a filmmaker that's been doing it 10 years longer than he has.
That's what I come out of this movie saying is 3 in a row. He's proved himself. He's not only 3 for 3, he's 3 for 3 with 3 home runs.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's incredible. And I mean, of the 3 movies, the middle one is probably the weakest, but it's phenomenal.
Yeah, and I love it. And it's probably ultimately still going to be my favorite to rewatch. The Town is, and I think that has to do with the fact that it's got so much action, and the other 2 are more dramas. Although I've seen Gone Baby Gone 6 or 7 times. He's 3 for 3. They're all home runs. They're all close to grand slams. I can't wait to see what the next 20 years is going to bring with this guy's films.
And I think you put your finger right on it. He understands. He has that gift that great directors have of getting the audience right in their hands and just taking them exactly where they want them to go. You feel exactly what he wants you to feel. He has the emotion in mind that he wants to give to you, and he portrays it perfectly, whether that's humor, whether that's intensity, whether that's fear. I really noticed this about Paul Greengrass, too. I feel very similar about the work that he does. Has a very similar feel for that, and man, it's evident in this movie. I think a lot of the success of this movie, too, has to do with the true story aspect, in that it's just a great story. Mm-hmm. It's just an incredible... I can't believe I never heard of this before.
Well, it's that whole declassified by Bill Clinton at some point, and you would have thought that would have made a bigger splash or been turned into a movie already, because it has all those elements, right? Like when I read a year ago, Affleck is writing and directing a story about how the CIA faked a movie to get hostages out, and it's based on a true story.
Right.
I was in. I was in before they put camera to the film, you know? So yeah, you're right. It starts with a great story. I think that's part of why he's a good director. I think he's got a good eye for good stories. Right? I think that has to be part of why he's good at what he does. So
yeah, for sure. How did you feel like his acting performance was in this?
it's funny. I thought he was great. I really did. And all the reviews are glowing, but most of the reviews have that paragraph at the end that say if there's any negative about the film, it's that maybe a different actor other than Affleck could have added more weight. It's funny. I thought the opposite. I thought that role doesn't require any weight. That is the role in the movie that you don't want a heavier actor, because
Totally
you've got
agree.
Goodman over here, and you've got the hostages over here, and you've got, I'm going to slip on his Bryan Cranston. You've got these powerhouse actors and these roles that call for those moments. Ben Affleck is us, and he was
Exactly
perfect.
right. Yeah, and you're right about the performances around him too. Cranston is great. Who's the guy that was in Alias, the father from Alias? He plays the Canadian.
Oh, yeah. Victor Garber.
Yeah, Victor Garber. Thank you. He is really good in this. I just across the line was really, really impressed with the performances. The score was exactly what it needed to be. It didn't interfere with the movie, but it gave it the emotion that it needed. The side story with John Goodman and Alan Arkin, or not Alan Arkin, is that Alan Arkin? Who is
Alan Arkin.
Alan Arkin is so good and
Yes.
such needed comic relief, and man, it's just a joyful movie experience to hear this story told in this way.
Yeah, it's funny to me because the tension is so tense. It's a very serious, dramatic movie at times, and then at other times it's like this Hollywood farce, and the blending of those two tones, I would think, would be tricky. I would think it would be hard, and every moment feels right. They'll go from a funny beat to a serious beat, and they earn all of it. It all rings true. So
I'll go ahead and tell you my favorite thing, my best thing for this movie. We usually do best thing, worst thing throughout our review somewhere. My best thing in this movie is something I didn't even know until after the credits because of what happens during the credits. The authenticity is my favorite thing about this movie after seeing what they show in the credits with what these people really look like and the way they portrayed it. I mean, if they don't at least get nominated for makeup and costuming Oscars for this movie, that was incredible.
it's what I wrote it down as a possible best thing that I expected you to say that correctly. Detail. I looked after I noticed how good it was. Looking for errors, looking for, like when you see Ben Affleck sitting down with a can of beer, I'm inspecting that can and it looks like it came from 1979. Like the curtains, the carpet, like I think it goes way deeper than just the costumes. I was really impressed.
Yeah, it is so authentic. It's authentic down to the settings, to every. I mean, it just feels right. It almost feels like a documentary.
Yeah,
it really does.
My favorite thing. I'm going in a little bit different direction. There are two moments in this film. One is a John Goodman line where he starts off optimistic and finishes the sentence pessimistic, and watching that transformation as he rattles off a list of things that they need to do. It's one of my favorite line readings ever. But my favorite thing about this film is a moment in the finale toward the end where the one refugee finally sort of gets it. I don't really want to say any more than that. I think you know the moment I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
That moment was perfect. I feel I got warm fuzzies from that moment. Just everybody's reaction to it was perfect. I loved it. It made the whole film sing for me.
And there's so much to be said about Ben Affleck's understanding of movie plot structure in this movie too, and how he gives you those moments of, the doubter becomes the believer, or all that stuff. And they all just sing. They just resonate, and the emotion is so there. Absolutely. I got to be honest, I had a real hard time coming up with a, least favorite thing or a worst thing for this movie.
Yeah, I struggled for a few seconds, but it came to me pretty quick. But go ahead. I don't want to steal it because you worked so hard.
No, I ended up going with there are brief moments of conversation that seem to linger a little bit too long. They're just these occasional that get a little talky, but it's so rare and it's so good otherwise.
Yeah, I just felt like it was a little. This again, everybody needs to understand this movie is an A+. So the fact that we're calling something our worst thing It's not what's lingering with me, but the ending felt to me a little Hollywoodized. And after I got out of the movie and started reading more about the story, I learned that it is in some ways to ramp up the tension. Some of the things that happen in the finale aren't actually what happened, and I'm okay with that artistically. What troubled me was that I could feel it in the movie moment, like when it's happening. I'm like, I don't think this would happen, and so that's the only thing I can come up with that was the worst thing. And I would have done the same thing that he did. I would have Hollywoodized it as well. So you can't blame it.
Yeah, I don't hold that against them at all. I've never held that against the based on a true story thing. Look, if you're gonna make a documentary. If you're gonna do accurate. If you're gonna make a movie, make a movie. I'm fine with that. Totally fine with that. And this is a great movie. Argo is just phenomenal. Just phenomenal.
Yeah.
So I would assume. I mean, I'll go ahead and say it. Mine's an immediately.
Oh yeah. I'm an immediately. I want to go myself again immediately, and so yeah, I've already started recruiting who's going to go with me, and already told people you need to see this movie. You probably saw it on my Facebook. So
it's also fair to say, also important I think to say, my wife went with me to see this one. She loved it too, like really loved it, and she's a little, she's not like a movie guy like I am. She's just an audience member, and to be honest, man, when that movie ended, the theater erupted in applause.
Yeah.
I mean, it really did. It was like, in fact, there were 3 applause moments in the screening I was at where the crowd applauded. So.
In a pretty full house.
Yeah, it was about, I'd say 70%.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have applause, but I had a really awesome cross section of people in my theater, from age groups and types of people and couples, and everyone loved it. Everyone was walking out with that, that buzz when everybody gets out of a movie that was good, and it had it. So I think everyone that has an inkling to see it from the trailer is going to be really, really fulfilled. And
we should mention, we say immediately. That's how we rank movies, by how soon you should see them. Immediately, soon, DVD, TV, or never. And this is the best rating we can give, immediately. And
both said that we want to be tough on movies. We're not going to give that out.
No.
This is the first one we've given out. And it'll probably be the last one for maybe until The Hobbit comes out.
Yeah, that's fair to predict. Is this the front runner going into Oscar season right now?
Oh, definitely. Right now, I would say if the Oscars were tomorrow, this wins Best Picture. That makes me scared a little bit, because that first movie that everyone calls the front runner for Best Picture every fall always falls away by something else coming out in December. It always seems to happen that way, and I don't want that to happen. I think it would be hard for any other movie to be better than this. Someone's going to have to hit a pretty good grand slam.
I think you can make an argument for The Avengers, interestingly enough.
I think you could make... Well, and that's the thing. I have a friend that would hate what I'm about to say, but I think when you talk about best movies, you have to separate it. Most entertaining, best filmmaking, and The Avengers is not going to win Best Picture. It'll probably get nominated, since they have to scrounge around to find enough pictures to get nominated, but I don't see Hollywood ever giving that award to that movie, especially when it's up against what Ben Affleck just did, which is exactly what they want to reward.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Okay, well, let's talk about the big question. Favorite based on a true story movies. And I'll go ahead and go first this time.
Sure.
For me, it is Apollo 13, one of my favorite movies of all time. It's, I think, in my top 20 when I make my list every year of all-time movies. Ron Howard directed Apollo 13, and just amazing performances from top to bottom, and just such a crazy, again, a great story that really happened. And man, I love that movie. Such a solid film.
I thought about that movie a lot while watching Argo. I thought about, I don't know why that particular one stood out to me. I guess it was the predictability of the ending, right? Like, if you read the news, you're not in doubt while you're watching Argo who's going to live, who's going to die, who's going to make it. And so whenever they're able to build that kind of attention around a story you already know the ending to, it's even more impressive. Apollo 13 set the gold standard for that. So no one in the world should fault that choice. There are literally hundreds of movies that I looked at in thinking about what would be my favorite, based on a true story film. I'm just going to go with rewatchability and say Catch Me If You Can.
Ooh, good choice.
Definitely fictionalized in certain areas to make it a little more Hollywood and fun, I don't have a problem with that, like you just said. But man, if that movie's on TV and I'm flipping channels, I will stop and watch it every single time.
So good.
Yeah, and it runs the gamut of emotions. The performances are outstanding. It has, you know, light, fun moments and serious, sad moments. It's got everything. I really love that movie.
So basically, we're saying Tom Hanks.
Yeah, there's sort of an underlying theme there, but
yeah, for sure. Well, it was either going to be Apollo 13 or Lord of the Rings for my favorite, based on a true story. And
right, I thought about Batman, but it's an obvious answer.
Right, of course. All right, man. Let's take a look at next week, okay?
Yeah, sure.
2 movies in wide release next week. This is going to be a fun one. Alex Cross or Paranormal Activity 4?
Oh, what are 2 movies I'm not very interested in seeing?
Hey, this is what you signed up for, man. This when you agreed to do this, you knew this was coming.
I'm hard-pressed to believe Paranormal Activity 4 holds many new secrets for me after the first 3 Paranormal Activities, which I didn't see. I'm going to go ahead and vote for Alex Cross, even though you should know I'm equally uninterested in that movie.
I will tell you, the Paranormal Activity movies are better than you think they're going to be. There's actually some decent filmmaking in those movies. But I am so done with that genre.
Okay,
like
good.
the found footage genre. It's just I saw recently End of Watch.
Yeah.
With Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena, and loved it. Like, it really surprised me how much I enjoyed that movie. But it incorporated found footage in a way that I think it has to go now. Where it's been in the past is, I'm kind of on a tangent here, but where it's been in the past has been this: we found these, this video and we just put it together and now we're showing it to, a la Cloverfield or Blair Witch or whatever, And what it does in End of Watch is it's still a movie. It's not, pretending that this was, actual footage that was found. But so much of it is shot by the actors. Like,
right.
They have a handheld camera, or it's the police camera on the car or whatever. And that does add an element of realism to it that I think really helped the movie. And it doesn't take away from it by trying to make you believe that it actually really happened.
They did that a bit in that movie in the spring about superhero kids.
That was a good movie.
It was, but I remember thinking, how are they going to do this as they got going to the finale, and they just started using security cams and news footage and helicopter cams and people's cell phone footage, and it was a little gimmicky, but I ended up sort of respecting the effort that they put in to keep it all real footage. Yeah,
that was the first step, and I agree, because but the second step is to just let go of the pride of saying everything has to be, from a camera, and just shoot a movie, but use a lot of found footage to emphasize that realism that's happening.
I would just say, to simplify it, stop thinking you can fool an audience into thinking that what you have is real found footage. And this day and age, we're all too skeptical. But
yeah. Well, so I say that to say we can go with Alex Cross. I think that movie looks awful. I can't wrap my brain around Tyler Perry playing like a super agent kind of guy, or whatever he is in that movie.
It took me out of the movie when I saw him in Star Trek, and he was only in there for like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
He's just done so much of this one thing that he's gonna have to earn it to have a career doing this other thing. And let's see.
Matthew, I can't remember, the guy from Lost, Jack from Lost, plays the villain in Alex Cross.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Shepard. Jack Shepard. That was the actor's
Matthew.
name. Yeah.
I can't. I feel like, you know what? I just lost all my credibility on Lost.
Fox.
Yes, thank you. Matthew Fox.
I saw pictures of the filming, and he's apparently super ripped in this.
He's really playing up that super evil kind of bad guy. Like, I haven't seen one of those over-the-top villains in a long time, and he's really playing it up hard. So I'm interested to see it, how over-the-top it is, if nothing else. So that'll be our pick. If you've got a pick, hey, you know what? If in the comments a lot of people say, hey, you got to see Paranormal, we want to know about Paranormal Activity 4, maybe we'll switch it up.
Yeah. You never know. If everybody wants that, it's not like I'm in love with Alex Cross. We'll just go. I mean, it's the choice of 2 bad movies. So, just tell us what you want to see, and we'll pick them.
All right. So 2 things before you go, if you want to put them in the comments. Number 1, what your favorite based on a true story movie of all time is. We'd love to talk more about that, and also what you want us to see next week, if anything. Thanks for hanging out with us. Jeremy, thank you for doing this.
No problem, man. It's fun. I love it.
And we'll catch you next week with either Tyler Perry or found footage.
Should be interesting.